Coming to you from the Trumbull Insurance Agency virtual studio. Turn your stress and anxiety into peace and security with Trumbull Insurance. Contact Patrick Bankemper today for all your insurance needs at 540-532-0622. And for the rest of our sponsors, Regroup Building Services, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, and Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate. This is another edition of the Kirby on Sports podcast. From 4 teams to 2, the Super Bowl is just about 2 weeks away. Joining me on this edition of the Kirby on Sports podcast, the weapon, Dan Dembski, and the Swiss Army knife, Carlos Martinez. Gentlemen, it was a fun, exciting week of football. Yeah, I just hate to say it. I can't believe it's almost over.
Yeah, it's the season has flown by. Now we're in the almost to the Super Bowl. It's just crazy how fast it's gone. And 2 teams in the Super Bowl, that especially one team that who would have thought the Cincinnati Bengals would be in the Super Bowl? But here we are. Cincinnati Bengals are in there, and yeah, it's going to be a really fun matchup. Looking forward to talking about it with you guys.
Hello, Carlos.
I think he's broken.
A moment of silence, boys. A moment of silence for Jackson Mahomes and Brittany Mahomes, or whatever her last name is. A moment of silence. We're here on this very, very sad day. I'm wearing all black for a reason. Because that man couldn't get it done in 13 seconds like he did last time. So sad. But as they say in the show business, the show must go on. What's up, boys?
Well, the bad thing is the Chiefs aren't in it, but the good part, we don't have to see Jackson Mahomes TikToking at the Super Bowl.
That's the good God.
That's a real blessing right there. That is a real blessing.
Absolutely. Once again, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Your comments are welcome, and we will take your questions throughout the show. We will get to the AFC and NFC championship game. But first and foremost, it is absolutely official, ladies and gentlemen. The legend, Tom Brady. He is no doubtedly a legend times 10, times 20. I mean, maybe times 30. I mean, we will never see another Tom Brady again in this league. I mean, I think it's safe to say it would be very, 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 very difficult to see anybody like Tom Brady come through this league again as we bring in all his career stats. Tom Brady is officially retired. He is a 7-time Super Bowl champion, a 5-time Super Bowl MVP, a 3-time first team All-Pro.
You totally skipped 3-time league MVP, but that's fine. He's a 15-time Pro Bowler. He's got the most career quarterback wins at 243, most career passing attempts at 11,317, most career completions 7,263, most career passing touchdowns at 624, most career passing yards 84,520. The GOAT, the man, the legend, Tom Brady, has called it a career.
You forgot 6th round draft pick.
Pick 199.
And he comes out and has a career like that. It's just unbelievable.
I have 2 questions for you about this. Number 1, are you taking the over or the under on how quickly Tom Brady will be inducted to both the Patriots and the Buccaneers Ring of Honor?
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean? I'm trying to say how fast
Fast. There.
Fast.
Done.
Very
Move on.
fast. He's going to be the fastest player ever inducted.
Like,
into
what
the Team
what
Hall.
type of question is that?
How fast? No,
He's
seriously,
going to be the fastest player ever.
Fast. That's it. It's fast.
He's the greatest player.
Kirby,
of all
next
time.
question. Next question.
Next question.
Jeez.
Next question.
Carlos
When
Colorado.
Tom Brady is up to be elected into the
He's
Hall
gonna
of
be
Fame,
a unanimous decision, first round Hall of Fame ballot. That's it. Move on.
That
These
wasn't
aren't
my question.
questions. These aren't
that
questions.
wasn't my question. That wasn't my question. Will the discussion on whether Tom Brady
3
gets
seconds.
into the MVP, will it be more time or less time than Peyton
Gets
Manning?
into the MVP?
No, yeah, the Hall of Fame, excuse me.
Yeah, 3 seconds.
Less. It's going
Less,
to be
way
less.
less.
Than Peyton.
Less
Even though
than
They're
we
not
all-
even. There's not
we
even
all-
going to be a discussion.
We all knew
Tom
Peyton
Brady.
Yeah.
Well, let's put him in.
Tom Brady. Oh, he's in. All
I
right,
mean,
cool.
it's
Move on.
it's easy. I mean, 5 years ago he was a Hall of Famer. 6 years ago he was a Hall of Famer. 7 years ago he was a Hall of Famer. He's
10
been a
years
Hall of
ago, he
Famer
was a
for-
Hall of Famer.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
He's had 3 Hall of Fame careers in the span of 1.
That's right.
Pretty much.
That's
You can
exactly
literally
right.
divide his career into eras. The first 3 Super Bowls, the drought of Super Bowls, which he was still pretty dang on good during
He was
that.
still in-
because that was
still in
that was
every year,
during
just about.
that was the undefeated season. That was him, breaking the single season touchdown record, which of course then Peyton Manning went on to break. But at the time, he broke that with Randy Moss. That was the second
fun team.
giant Super Bowl that they lost. That was the second part of his career. Then it was 4 careers, because then you got the next 3 Patriots Super Bowls, and then you got this little stint in Tampa. I mean, he's had 4 careers in one, basically. So
Yeah, and he's broken. Listen, he's won every meaningful thing you can win. He's broken every conceivable record. I mean, just look at this graphic; it's ridiculous.
yeah,
He is bar none not only the greatest quarterback of all time, he's the greatest player in NFL history.
would you say he's the greatest athlete of all time? Because
See,
I've seen
that's-
that debate a lot.
That's a tough one.
That's
a tough one.
debatable.
Yeah, I think you could debate that one. That's kind of where it's also hard to cross-examine, like Michael Jordan versus Tom Brady, right?
Well, I mean, I would say Tom Brady's probably, because Jordan
Longevity-wise and
Yeah,
playing a sport like
longevity-wise.
football. I mean,
and
hell, you're getting
Jordan
pounded
when
out.
Jordan left the basketball finally, he retired 3 times. When he finally retired, he wasn't at the peak of his powers. Tom Brady's still at the peak of his powers. And you've seen the quote everywhere of him saying he wasn't going to retire until he sucked. And then everybody's making the joke. He just got tired of waiting to suck because it was just taking too long. So he just decided to retire.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, just incredible. It's incredible because he's going to come second in MVP voting probably this year. And the fact that he's now retiring, he's almost 45, is incredible. His career has been nothing short of incredible.
And listen, the fact that he's able at 43 and 44 years old to play at the extremely high level that he has, I mean, yeah, Carlos said it. I mean, he was an MVP candidate this season at his age. He just defied logic, time, space, continuum, whatever you want to say. I know I've said that a lot this season. I see, Tom Brady defies all physics and everything because you're not supposed to be able to, when in the NFL, you're not supposed to perform past 35. That's the upper limit a lot of times. For quarterbacks, maybe
a lot of times. Quarterbacks
maybe
sometimes go a little
longer.
longer. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is
It
what,
depends on the
37?
position. Yeah.
It just depends on
Depends
how
on the
the court but you got to think Brady really, really invested in his body and
Very
taking
much.
care of his body.
For
So
years,
that's the difference between him and some other quarterbacks where he just really, really committed to everything that he would do. But I guess the fun quote that we're going to make here is Father Time was undefeated until he met Tom Brady.
That's right.
He is now the one in a bajillion and one.
And so many people like myself, when I first heard Brady was first of all leaving New England, which I think a lot of people thought after that playoff loss to the Titans, he's no longer going to be a Patriot. But I thought deep down inside he's going to retire, he's going to walk away because that seemed like the most logical thing. I mean, he'd come in and completely, first of all, changed the game of football, and completely took that franchise and made them it made them a juggernaut. I mean, he was the main cog in that wheel. So the fact that he left New England was surprising to me, and then he goes to Tampa Bay, and a lot of people doubted him, right? A lot of people said, "What is he?" You know, Tampa had some good pieces the season before, but then of course they really beefed up that roster, and Tom Brady was a big attraction as part of that. Obviously Gronk and all the other players they brought in at that time, but yeah, what a fantastic career he's had, and also just the fact that he really wasn't injured a whole lot. I mean, talk about his big injury. I think it was 2008 where he tore his ACL.
It was the season after the undefeated season. Tore his ACL.
Yep. And
against the Chiefs, ironically.
Right. And I believe that was the first game of the season. So that was, and then the Pats almost made the playoffs that year. So then, of course, the discussion started.
Yeah, 11-5 with Matt Castle.
Yeah, is it really Brady or is it Belichick or whatever? That's kind of
it was a mixture of both.
It always was. It always was. And yeah, look at Castle, got that huge contract, and from the Chiefs,
from the
right?
Chiefs, yeah, from the Chiefs.
Didn't quite pan out, but
and he also ended up on the Cowboys later on. But we're not talking about Matt Castle. We're talking about the GOAT right now. All right.
Yeah, he's it's just there's been a million things said about Tom Brady, and it's just like it all boils down to his greatness and his willingness to win and be a competitor. That's really, to me, what Tom Brady means to professional sports and professional football more than anything else. He is the ultimate competitor, the ultimate winner. And he's done it all in his career. You can't ask for anything more than what Tom Brady gave to the game of football.
Yeah, real quick, and like you said, Kirby, like we've never seen anything like this, and we're never going to see anything like this again.
No way.
Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, none of these guys are ever going to come, do what Brady did, because look how long it took Brady to even do this. He had a. Like, he got lucky, really, to be honest. Like, lucky in terms of, like, being able to keep playing at this level for this long. And obviously, he invested a lot. It wasn't luck. But, like, he invested so much to be able to do this. But just to think, like, 7 Super Bowls, that's insane. Like, he has more Super Bowls than any franchise in the NFL.
Yep, that's exactly right.
For me, I think this season was very unique because we both had the opportunity to watch Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and I had the opportunity to watch Tom Brady in Washington. And I think just seeing Tom Brady made me appreciate football. And I was like, man, this man's been in the league forever. Seeing him in person, it was crazy. Then seeing Patrick Mahomes, it's like, what, Brady's exiting and we have a new era of quarterbacks. And that's not me saying Mahomes is going to do anything what Brady did,
which he's not, but
we saw cool because I sort of saw the new generation of quarterback. I saw
a changing of the guard.
Brady pretty much.
Changing of the guard right there. Yep.
I'm just blessed
really a changing of the guard because Brady still had it. Brady still had the guard. He's like, you know what? I'm too good. I am not getting worse. Just take it before I continue to dominate this league until I'm 60. Just take it. Just take it away from me.
Well, and family plays a role in that too.
100%.
His kids are, I'm not sure how old his kids are, but I know they're
his oldest son, I think, is about to start high school.
Yeah, he's like a teenager, and then his youngest is probably 5 or 6 or something.
Yeah, I think it's his daughter's the youngest who.
Yeah.
Obviously the joke is made. She's touched the Super Bowl trophy more times than Dallas has in the past 25 years.
Hey,
but man, the Cowboys are the meme of the league, so.
Yeah, well,
we deserve it. We deserve it. We deserve it.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, that plays a big role in it too, and I'm sure he and Giselle had conversations throughout every offseason. Of course, when I'm sure it's several times in New England. I know he's talked about 2015, 2016, were times that he was going to give it up, and then, of course, makes that incredible comeback against the Falcons, and that's
we could not have gone through this whole conversation and not bring up 28.
You can't bring that up.
We can't not bring that up. That was his master. That was like his crescendo moment there. Like that was peak Tom Brady. Like what other guy is gonna come back from that in the Super Bowl and do it in the fashion that they did it? It's just, I mean, that cemented him as the GOAT right there.
And listen, if the Patriots don't come back in that game, there's a chance Brady walks away. I mean, I kind of think that way. It kind of reignited a fire under Tom Brady, saying, the winning feels great. Like, this is, I mean, obviously he'd felt it several times before that, but I think that Super Bowl in particular was most special because of the context behind it, and like you said, Carlos, the insane comeback and effort the Patriots had to take to get back in that ball game. But to me, that just summarizes Tom Brady. He's just a true competitor. First of all, the game's never over with Brady, no matter what the scoreboard says.
We saw it in the divisional round. It wasn't
exactly
over.
right.
He made a comeback, 27-3, and then of course this time he couldn't finish it off, but he did his damn best to try.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they get one more drive in that game, they win. But obviously, shoulda, coulda, woulda sort of situation there. That's water over the bridge, but under the bridge.
It's under. Because
it'd be over the dam, under the bridge. Anyway, so that's to me, that's just Tom Brady, man. You can't count him out. People doubted him throughout his career in several steps. Like Carlos said, he had many careers rolled up into one. And people doubted him at every stage of his career. People doubted when he was drafted in the 6th round. He's a backup quarterback to Drew Bledsoe. Drew Bledsoe gets
actually
hurt.
When he got drafted, he was the 4th-string quarterback.
4th-string quarterback.
He had to fight tooth and nail just to stay on the roster. He got no respect at Michigan when he was at Michigan, because then they got Drew Henson to come back.
Well. Yeah,
I mean, Tom Brady's story is like a truly underdog story up until he became like the best quarterback in the league. Then it was like he's part of the empire, So yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Hollywood material.
You see a guy
100%.
take over, it was like September, I think I read that it was like September 23rd, 2001. Bledsoe gets hurt, and that opens the door for Tom Brady to go out and show what he does. And even after Bledsoe, when Bledsoe first got healthy, there was, rumblings, is Brady really the quarterback? But then Belichick's like, look, Brady's our guy. And like you said, Carlos, from there it was, as they say, the rest is history. So you can't put into words what his career means to not only professional football but professional sports in general, and just true competitive nature. It's just unbelievable.
Dan, I have a question. This is more directed to you,
Sure.
Since you were in this field. Could you see Tom Brady taking a part-time major sports network role like Gronk did with Fox? Could you see Brady in a broadcast booth or anything of that nature?
Possibly, but I think, at least not immediately. I think he's going to take first of all, he's going to take some time away from football. I think he's going to take a couple off seasons and just spend time with family and stuff. You'll still see him around, I'm sure. But I honestly see him more as a coach or something along those lines, some sort of role with coaching. But look, I'm not going to rule out that he couldn't be a broadcaster. I think he'd be great at broadcasting. But I don't know. We've seen some guys that are good at it, and we've seen some guys that are not so good at it. Like
Jason Witten. Oh, sorry.
Did I say
that? Did I say that?
I hate to say Drew Brees, but he is not very good at it either. It's just kind of awkward. And
I want to give Drew Brees some time, though. I think there's potential there. He just has to unlock
you see some flashes, but I mean, first of all, it's rare to find someone like Tony Romo that can just step in the booth and immediately.
But Romo has his bad games. Like
last week was bad.
That was bad. That was bad.
Wait a second.
He was way too annoying in that game.
Wait a second. There is a plot twist. Bill Belichick retires. Tom Brady coaches for the New England Patriots, and he wins another 7 Super Bowl rings.
Yeah, I disagree with both of you. I don't think he's coming. I think he's gonna. I don't see him coming back in an announcer's role. I don't see him coming back as a studio analyst role. I don't see him coming back coaching. I just don't see Brady coming back to football. I think he's done with I don't doubt that. He I don't know. I just get the vibe he's going to be kind of I could maybe see him and an owner, not like owning a team full on, but being like a minority owner of a team or something
ownership
like
group
that,
or something. Yeah,
or maybe he's gonna get some ownership with the Patriots. Who knows? If I can't remember their owner's name right now.
Kraft.
Robert
Kraft.
Kraft.
Robert Kraft. That's what it was. Thank you, boys. I knew it started with a K.
Kellogg's.
But yeah, Robert Kraft. Maybe he's gonna give him some ownership stake in the Patriots, but or maybe he might get some ownership stake in the Buccaneers. Who knows? But yeah, I don't see him coming back. I just don't. He just doesn't give me that vibe that he would come back and be okay with not playing, because I just feel like he's that competitive of a guy that just being around football is going to be too hard for him.
Yeah, and another thing to keep in mind is he's got this diet stuff, nutrition, obviously.
He's got the crypto stuff. Like
he can be a hell of a salesman. I don't
Did I
think
freeze
he
again?
necessarily. Yeah, you did, but you're all good. He can be a hell of a salesman. I don't necessarily disagree with that, Carlos. It's all speculation. We don't know what Brady's going to do. I'm sure he's talked about it with Giselle, but I do think first and foremost he's going to take at least a couple seasons away from football, at least out of the spotlight. I think that's kind of what he is leaning towards anyway. So,
or maybe he joins the Manning cast.
Oh man, that would be legendary.
Oh, man.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now there's an interesting proposition, boys.
Eli could just roast him and stuff the entire time.
Or Eli could just kick rocks, and you just have Peyton and Brady.
I don't know. The chemistry with Peyton and Eli is pretty damn good. I mean,
but the chemistry between Brady and Peyton is it's legendary. It is fantastic.
You know what they should do is kick Eli and get Cooper Manning instead.
Oh my gosh.
The other brother.
So yeah.
Anyway,
It's crazy, but the GOAT, Tom Brady, has retired. Tom, thank you for all the memories. I know I haven't, I haven't always liked
Thank you,
Tom
12.
Brady. TB12, he is officially retired. We'll talk the AFC and the NFC Championship game right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you about Regroup Building Services. If you're looking to get your home remodeled, any part of your home, bathroom, kitchen, want to get a deck built, anything like that, Regroup Building Services can just about do everything. And take it from me, because they came in and they remodeled my family's kitchen, and they do a great job. So if you're looking for any sort of home remodeling needs, deck work done, anything of that nature, reach out to my guy Sean Hibbard over at Regroup Building Services today. You can check them out on their website, www.regroupbuildingservices.com, where they do the honeydews that your honey don't. Make sure you tell them Josh sent you. All right, boys, let's get this show on the road. The AFC and NFC championship games. Once again, could we have asked for a better weekend of football?
No. You had two insane games. Obviously the AFC championship game goes to overtime. The second game doesn't, but it comes pretty close. Just a very fun way to wrap up the championship weekend, obviously going into the Super Bowl now. And I don't think you could ask for better games. I think that kind of hypes up the Super Bowl even more because of how good the championship games were. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it was a hell of a weekend, and some really dramatic moments as well, which I'm sure we're going to touch on.
The football gods blessed us last week with four straight great divisional games. Packers 49ers we don't have to talk about. But they were generous enough to be like, you know what? Conference championship, we know that sometimes, one game is close, but then the other game is a blowout, and then it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
And it looked like we were about to get one of those games, but the football gods said, you know what? You guys have been through a lot. Let's give you guys another two great games. How about that?
Yep.
And they delivered. They delivered.
And let's talk about one of those games. the Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, we'll just start off there. Kansas City has a pretty big lead going into halftime. Chiefs obviously cannot convert and think they can get a little bit fancy with Tyreek Hill, but the Bengals defense stops them, limiting them from scoring points to end the first half. Then it comes out that there are no points scored, little to no points scored in the third quarter and fourth quarter. Ends up Kansas City has an opportunity to drive down, trying to win the game, and Bengals defense steps up, forces a game-tying field goal, and it sends this game to overtime. A postseason stat for you. No team has ever won back-to-back postseason in overtime. And that graphic came up. I was like, oh, yeah, but Patrick Mahomes got this. But no, he did it. He threw an interception, and yeah, thought it was the coin toss, like you said, and threw an interception, and the Bengals cashed in. Evan McPherson, ice in his veins, and the Cincinnati Bengals stunned just about everybody, and they're going to the Super Bowl. And like we said before, who would have thought that after this season, Cincinnati would be in a Super Bowl? Because I sure as hell didn't believe it. I sure as hell would have never believed it if you would have told me last season. Because we all know Joe Burrow had an ACL tear last season.
Even this season, we didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah, we picked them to be.
We picked them to be the bottom of the barrel in the North. So,
well, hey, people
sorry,
people miss.
Incredible. Carlos, I know you probably shed a tear or two over this.
I did not.
Game.
I don't cry over games, okay? Even when the Dallas lost to San Francisco, I don't cry for football games. That's just not my thing. Yeah, but this was definitely I mean, in terms of AFC Championship game history, this was by far the biggest choke job I've ever seen by a team. By far.
I agree.
Patrick Mahomes in that second half played like absolute doo-doo. He was awful. And it really looked like, and I'm not the only person to bring this up. A lot of people brought this up. It really looked like the first half Kansas City was playing the way that they had been playing for the past like couple weeks when they've turned it on. But then that second half they came out and it looks like they reverted back to that team from the first like 8 weeks of the season where where they just couldn't get anything going. They weren't Patrick Mahomes was just constantly looking for the big play instead of just taking what the Bengals were giving them. And really just not scoring at the end of that first half really changed the dynamic of this game because at that point, Cincinnati was starting to feel themselves. They had just scored on that, screen pass touchdown. Yeah, and then, then obviously they don't score, or they because Patrick Mahomes, for some odd reason, decides to throw a bubble screen to Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, terrible play call there.
Yeah, it was a terrible play call. They should have taken the points. They should have gone for the field goal. Or, if anything, Mahomes needed to just, it needed to go to the end zone. It can't go, to
behind the line of scrimmage.
Behind the line of scrimmage, and then Tyreek Hill has to somehow make it in. Tyreek's not the biggest guy in the world. He's fast, yeah, but I mean, he's not going to physically dominate anybody in terms of like running, like being able to, drag some, defenders into the end zone. And then coming out and that's, and then they had the kick, they had the ball starting the second half and they just like did nothing like for, the next 3 drives. And then, and this literally kind of went exactly like the last game in Cincinnati. And I thought this game, and I texted the group, early in the game when Kansas City was rolling. I was like, it just looks like Kansas City's been here. This just looks like another game to them, and it just looks like the moment's too big for Cincinnati. That completely flipped in the second half, and I think the Bengals beating the Chiefs earlier in the season this same way, where they were down going into halftime.
They know the formula.
Yeah, they knew the formula, and then on top of that, they were like, "We've done this before." Like we can already see this team is starting to break. Like they've given us their best shot. Now it's time for us to get at it. And I thought maybe this game was going to be different too because it was at Arrowhead. Joe Burrow I'm sorry, it's Joe Burr because he is ice cold. Like he fears no, like that Arrowhead crowd didn't even like bother him in the slightest in that second half. And they were trying. The Chiefs were trying. And then just that last drive for Kansas City in regulate or at the end of regulation. I mean, what is Patrick Mahomes doing? What, like he's holding the ball too long. Just throw it at the back of the end zone. Mm-hmm. You can't take those type of sacks.
That's bad.
To really push you out of, luckily, our kicker made the kick, but I mean, still, like you put Kansas City in like a very, very tough position there to tie the game. And then in overtime, of course, we win the coin toss. Kirby, for some reason, is like, oh, that's game. And I'm just like, what has Patrick Mahomes shown you this second half that makes you think he can drive down the field and they're going to score a touchdown? What has, not even just Patrick Mahomes, the whole Chiefs offense in total, what have they done to really make you think this is like the Bills game? This is, the defenses are both tired. Whoever wins this is going to, win the game. This had none of that feel. And I don't know what, Patrick Mahomes, what was the first play? It was incomplete. The second play was the interception, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Is how it went.
That's right. Yep.
And I don't know what he literally played like Aaron Rodgers did in that 49ers game where he was just trying to force it to his weapon, Tyreek Hill. And it really, and obviously, Dan, you brought this up too, that once Cincinnati was only blitzing 3 and dropping 8, that's what really, really like had Kansas City baffled. And Patrick Mahomes couldn't figure it out. I we have to give credit to Cincinnati because they played this game perfectly.
Yeah.
And they came out in the second half very confident. And Jamar Chase, only 6 receptions, 54 yards, 1 touchdown. He definitely didn't have the same impact in this. In terms of production, he didn't have the same impact as he did in the last game, but he was still such a factor in the game that like Kansas City's defense was focused on him, and it let guys like T. Higgins, get a whole bunch of yardage on them. Yeah. Overall, just. My thoughts are Cincinnati, I don't want to take anything away from Cincinnati because they really played a great game. And my God, this is a Cinderella story. Nobody had Cincinnati even winning the division. It was Baltimore and Cleveland. For us 3 here, that's who we thought was the 2-horse race between them. And then
were we wrong?
Yeah, woof. and then Cincinnati comes out of nowhere, wins the division. They win their first home playoff game, the first playoff game in since texting was invented.
1991. Yeah.
Yeah. Then they beat the number 1 seed Tennessee Titans with Derrick Henry, who didn't look like Derrick Henry, but they still went up there and Joe Burrow sacked 9 times and they still find a way to win that game.
Number 1 seed, yeah.
Yeah. And then they come to Arrowhead, Kansas City, the 2-time defending AFC champions, 1-time Super Bowl champions. This is their 4th straight trip, here to the AFC Championship game in Arrowhead with that crowd just bearing down on you. And they come in and they took the Chiefs' best shot in the first half. And then second half, they were like, all right, time to go to work. And they completely shut Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs down, hold them to only 3 points in the second half. And then they go off and score another 17 and win in overtime. Like I said, an absolute choke job, in my opinion, by Kansas City. Because all Kansas City had to do was just score a touchdown and a field goal, maybe. Yeah. 1 touchdown and a field goal, and this game was going to be completely out of reach for Cincinnati. There was not going to be enough time for them to make it to come back. And there's going to have to be a lot of soul searching in the Chiefs because this is literally the Chiefs' season. They were very up and down. First half of the season, they couldn't get a win to save their lives, really. And, we're really struggling with how defense is adjusted to them. Then they figured out, okay, we got to be more patient. We just got to take what they give us. And then they started to get on a roll. They play that great game against the Bills, one of the greatest games that we'll ever see. Come out here, they're still rolling off of that performance and are playing well, and then just completely poop the bed in the second half. It's just a complete choke job by Kansas City, but like I said, Cincinnati just played it perfectly, and congrats to Cincinnati, you're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, Carlos covered it from head to toe. I don't think I have too much to add that would be any more insight. I'll just sort of echo your point about the Chiefs failing at the end of the first half there. First of all, the play call was kind of dumb. I think the Chiefs got arrogant and
they got greedy.
Especially at the end of that.
I hate to give Booger McFarland credit, but that was his quote. They got greedy.
Yep, he's exactly right. You take the 3 there and there all of a sudden Cincinnati has no momentum because even giving up any points at the end of the half there, you have nothing. Cincinnati gets the stop. They get a good chunk of that momentum back, even though the score was still an 18-point deficit for them at that time. That's the turning point in the game, and then that kind of fired them up coming out of the locker room, and you could see that. And Carlos, you talked about how stifled the Chiefs were on offense in the second half, and I think that's just credit to what Cincinnati did. Shutting down, sort of keeping Patrick Mahomes in the pocket, looking for receivers. And if Mahomes was going to run, he wasn't going to have a whole lot of space. I felt like they did a good job, down the field, covering receivers, keeping those rushing lanes contained, and sort of making Mahomes stay back there in the pocket, try to do something. And their secondary just played it perfectly. That was the key to stopping the Chiefs in the second half. And then the Bengals just, they slowly chipped away at that lead. And, by the time they get back in the game, I just kind of felt like, wow, this just like all the momentum was with them at that point because they had just climbed back into the game on the road in Arrowhead, like you talked about. 4th straight AFC title game for Kansas City. All the odds were stacked up against the Bengals. Not a lot of people gave them a chance in this game. And you got to credit what Zach Taylor's been able to do. Here's a guy that came in heavily criticized, really from the get-go. Rightfully so. It seemed like last season, even though, Joe Burrow obviously missed the whole season. But you didn't see a lot of characteristics in Zach Taylor that spoke that he's an NFL head coach. I think a lot of people would agree with that. And
I would agree.
The fact that the Bengals had sort of a, they had an interesting season. They came hot late though. And like I talked about at the beginning of the playoffs, that's really what it's all about. What team gets hot late a lot of times. It's so hard to find a team that can stay consistently hot throughout the season and continue that in the postseason. At some point, the wind is going to come out of the sails a little bit, and it did for Kansas City, and it came out in a big way. So, got to credit Cincinnati for being able to get to their first Super Bowl, like you said on the graphic, since the late '80s, 1989. Nobody in their right mind picked Cincinnati to get into this. Get into this.
I don't even think Cincinnati fans thought Cincinnati was going to get this far. Especially with how their offensive line. I mean, their offensive line is, especially on the right side, is god awful.
So bad.
They're so bad. But the fact that this connection between Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, that it's so special that it just overcomes that. And it's not even just them. Obviously, they're very talented. Like, they have T. Higgins, who's proven to be a great receiver or a good receiver. I don't know if we can call him great just yet, but he's definitely very productive.
Yeah,
he's definitely very productive. I mean, I would love him on my team for sure. Joe Mixon. Then you got Joe Mixon, who's sure, he's not scoring a lot of touchdowns, but I mean, he's getting production also.
He almost had 100 yards. Yeah, that was huge.
And they lost their tight end, early in the game. And they still overcame that, and I don't think he's going to be able to even play the Super Bowl. I don't know that yet.
I think it was a pretty significant.
Yeah, I think it was just. Yeah, I mean, it had to have been, for him to not be able to keep going. But yeah, for Cincinnati, I mean, to overcome these things that we thought was going to be a detriment to them this season, the offensive line, I mean, the offensive line, the fact that this team is very cheap on facilities and stuff, and we weren't sure if Zach Taylor was the guy because history had shown us so far that he wasn't the guy.
Right.
The fact that they were able to overcome this and completely flip the narrative and make it all the way to the Super Bowl is incredible. Like, we have to give credit where credit is due. And I think it all starts with them drafting Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is just one of those guys that's just a winner. And he's going to win you games. And he's just so... Joe Burrow's so cool, dude. He's so cool.
It's funny
Joe Burrow's awesome.
Because if you put any other quarterback in their situation with that terrible, like you said, especially right side of the offensive line, they would struggle immensely. It's just something about Joe Burrow who he's adjusted to it because since he's gotten there, they've had a bad offensive line.
Oh, yeah,
the bad
100%.
offensive line is what got him injured in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And
that crappy Washington field.
Yeah, there's been a lot of legs injured on that Washington field for sure.
Yeah, they're gonna make a lot of tombstones there once they tear down that stadium.
RG3 is gonna be the first one, but
100%.
But I must say that it's just a hell of a comeback story for Joe Burrow. What he's been able to do, and how he's been able to survive.
He took comeback player of the year from Dak Prescott. He's like, you thought you're going to be, I'll take that. Thank you.
Yep. And easy on those cigars, boy. Well,
easy on those cigars.
I mean,
we're talking about your doppelganger, Kirby, by the way.
Nice hair. Looks familiar.
Thank you. Well, I mean, I don't really have much to add. But I would like to touch on the fact, how do you go from playing so hot in the first half to coming out so flat in the second half? That was I was like, how does this happen? You come out, you play well, and I mean, I was out there like stunned.
Especially with Kansas City, right? Because, I mean, this kid's Kansas City. You expect them more than any other team. They adjust well. So, yeah, the fact that they came out so flat, and the Bengals had just the opposite approach. I mean, they adjusted perfectly coming out of the locker room. And you got to wonder what was said behind closed locker room doors. I don't know if anybody can know that for sure. I'm sure NFL Films has stuff, but that's neither here nor there. It's just, I don't know. I think a lot of it is just a matter of motivation. I think for the Chiefs, they probably just felt like we've been here before. We know what to do. We're just going to go out there and take care of business. Very stoic attitude. And the Bengals are probably riled up at getting that stop. It sort of fired them up, and they said, here's how we're going to get back in this game. Da. Here's the three things we want to do, and they came out and did it. That's basically it.
Yeah, the way I could best put it is like Kansas City, like they're the top dogs. Like they're the top dogs of the conference. Like sure they were the 2 seed, but we know in reality they were the actual 1 seed. Like come on, let's be honest here. But the way I would put it is it's kind of like in like the UFC, for instance, or like boxing, like the champ, like this is not, this is just another fight for them at this point, right? Because their reign has been so long at this point. For them, this is just another fight. For their opponent, this is the biggest game of their life at this point.
Yep. So
like they're going to come in with everything and like they're going to give you their best, their absolute best. And for Kansas City, they just had that tough matchup against the Bills. And I think they just kind of thought, especially with how the first half went, they just thought it was just going to keep going. And they didn't make adjustments that well in the second half. I mean, they only had like 3 possessions in the second half, only came out with 3 points. Yep. And considering that they were having their way with Cincinnati in the first half. Like, and even on that last drive that they didn't score on, I mean, again, they moved down the field quickly. It's just then once they got to the 1 yard line, they made some boneheaded decisions, and then that started the downward spiral of Patrick Mahomes. It just makes no sense. Like I said, this was the ultimate choke job in AFC Championship history because they brought up some, or I heard obviously some candidates that like people brought up. But everybody ultimately went back to like this is probably the worst. You got like the Patriots, back in like 2006. They're at, it was the RCA Dome at the time because Yeah, this was before Lucas Oil was
before
open.
Lucas,
yeah. In 2006, Peyton Manning's like first Super Bowl run. They had the Patriots had a big lead, and then they squandered it, and Peyton Manning came back, and if I remember correctly, he like hurt his hand in that game too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
But again, like ultimately, like the Colts were the better team in terms of like the players, and then also they were the 1 seed, if I remember correctly. And a lot of Patriots fans were like, if we would have won that game, that would have been incredible. We actually didn't think we were going to win that game. But
and it sort of got the monkey off of Peyton Manning's back that he couldn't get into the Super Bowl. Well, obviously he hadn't to that point. So
yeah. Well, and also it was Brady at that point had already won his 3.
Yeah.
They had at that point. I think Brady was like dominating Manning in terms of head to head.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like that's like the most recent example you can come up with again, this is all in terms of like AFC championship games, not because obviously we know the ultimate choke job is the Falcons, 28-3.
They take the cake.
That will always be the greatest blunder of all time.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, yeah, like this was the ultimate choke job. Like Andy Reid screwed the pooch. He did not get this team right. Once they saw things weren't going the right way, they didn't really adjust. Like I said, the 3 to 8 thing, like they just didn't adjust to that well. And it never looked like somebody went to Patrick Mahomes and told him, "Hey, dude, relax. Stop looking for the big play. You're reverting back to the problems that we had earlier. Take what the defense is giving you. That's what worked in the first half. Continue doing that in the second half. Stop trying to make something happen that's not there."
Yeah, he got in his own head, and it's obvious that no one sat him down and had a conversation like you just said. I mean, because look, they probably figure he's Patrick Mahomes. He'll snap out of it. He always does. He's Patrick Mahomes. Again, he's Patrick Mahomes. He's a great quarterback. He's one of the best in the league. So he'll recover from that, but unfortunately, he just got too much in his own head, and he was never able to bounce back from that. So this
is going to be a pivotal offseason for him because he's got a lot to figure out, in my opinion, in terms of continuing to be patient and understand that he's not going to always have these big plays. And then, I mean, this question has been brought up by a lot of people, so I'm going to ask you guys this. Do you think this whole Jackson Mahomes, Brittany, she doesn't go by Mahomes? I don't
engaged.
Think
they're not married.
Yeah, I think they're engaged. They're probably gonna get married this offseason, but his fiance. Do you think that whole distraction thing might be part of something going on with him?
It definitely doesn't help. It definitely doesn't help when you know that that's going on, and it definitely goes through his mind. I don't know how big of a part it takes, just because most of the time it doesn't seem to bother him, and we didn't see it bother him. He doesn't really address it, but that's a good point. I mean, you think about a quarterback's psyche, and something like that definitely you have to consider could cause problems. So yeah, I think it definitely could play a factor. I don't know how big it is or how much it affects his head or whatnot when he's trying to play football, but yeah, they got to figure that out too, because it's first of all, it's a distraction not only to Patrick Mahomes, but it makes the Chiefs look bad too. And then people
makes the Chiefs look bad. It makes people dislike the Chiefs. It makes people dislike Patrick Mahomes because he's associated with them, even though he has nothing to, like I love Patrick Mahomes, but I don't like his brother. I'm indifferent to his fiance. I think she kind of needs to, she's causing some issues for him PR wise.
Yeah. But Jackson is definitely, I mean, he's a kid, so technically I think he's 17 or whatever.
He's a kid riding the coattails of his brother's success. Like,
yeah, he's
dude,
just
sit down. Like, ultimately,
you're
like, if your brother wasn't successful, you'd be a nobody.
Listen, and that's it, and that's another thing where the parents have to step in at that point. That's what I think. But again, I'm not a parent. I don't think I'll be a parent anytime soon. But I will say that's not really Patrick Mahomes' job to say, "Hey, you need to stop this." And that's probably how he feels about it too. He's waiting for some outside force to come in and say, hey, you need to stop this, which maybe somebody on the Chiefs needs to do it. You know, maybe
I know if I was in that situation, like if like, you know, my significant other and like my little brother were like causing all this like social media stuff, I would be like, yo, y'all gotta chill out because you're causing me stress. So chill the F out. And just stay off of social media and stop being the story.
Stop being a distraction. That's the biggest thing. Yeah. No, you're definitely right. But again, I don't think Mahomes is like that. Patrick is like that. He just seems kind of like an easygoing guy. Just kind of goes with the flow. I'm not saying you don't get me wrong. I think your response is similar to what most people would do, but Patrick Mahomes just doesn't come off like, you know, the kind of person that would respond in that respect. I think he would just kind of. And that's what we've seen. I mean, we've seen pictures with the three of them, and he looks absolutely miserable. You know, videos with him in the background, just, you know, barely making eye contact with the camera. It's funny to me. But yeah, no, sorry, my answer was way too long. I want to get Kirby's thoughts on that because that is a good question.
Yep.
I mean, at some point, I think it's some kind of distraction, but I think Patrick Mahomes just lets them do what they want to do so he can focus on the big game. But, I mean, it does bring some sort of negative publicity, obviously, because I don't think Patrick Mahomes would be in the stands spraying champagne, excuse me. I don't think Patrick Mahomes would make a TikTok on the field at all. I just think I think somebody just said, hey, Patrick, just give your fiance and brother season tickets. They can be on the field, whatever. And he just goes with it because he doesn't really have the time he doesn't really have the time to babysit them, saying, hey, please don't do this. I'm trying to focus. And he just, you know,
and
that's my 2 cents.
And you know, and how many players' families not only have season tickets, but 2 have on-field passes and behave just perfectly fine. We don't hear any stories. I mean, maybe you could find a few examples in the last decade in the NFL, but it's rare.
But not really. But not really. I mean, not
to the
but especially
every single week.
But especially at the caliber that because Patrick Mahomes is the top quarterback in the league, right? You never saw that from Brady, you know, from Giselle. Like Giselle, I never even think Giselle was ever on the field.
No, she was only in the
I think Giselle was
box.
just in the box. Sometimes I think she was just at home. I don't even think she came to the games sometimes.
Yeah, she was having kids, so I mean, you can't really blame her there. But
I mean, but like Mahomes has a kid. Like they have a daughter.
Yeah. That's also a bad example for the daughter as well. Like, look at how these.
I mean, like, I don't want to embarrass like her, like, you know, parenting skills because you know.
No.
I'm sure she's a great mom.
But listen, raining down champagne on fans.
Yeah, that's not the best look.
That's not a good look at all.
But all right, let's get off of this topic.
Let's go to the NFC now. Let's
I think we've about wrapped up the AFC.
Yeah, well, we've wrapped it up. The Cincinnati Bengals have done what we thought could not be done. The impossible. Yeah, you said it best, Carlos. But when we return, we will talk about the NFC Championship game. It is all coming your way right after this. For sports fans living in condominium and homeowners associations, as well as business professionals, when you need a reserve study, PM Plus Reserves has been in business since 1990. Their studies are accurate and easy to understand. Check them out when your association needs a study. www.pmplusreserves.com. You can also contact them at 703-803-8436. Once again, www.pmplusreserves.com. Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barnwood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood, or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, that's www.shenandoahprimitives.com. We touched on the AFC side. It is now time to touch on the NFC
I'm
side.
down here now.
Yeah, now you're in the bottom of the basement.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. how that happens,
now I'm
but
back.
Hey,
I like my spot.
if the one thriller in an AFC championship game wasn't enough, this game didn't quite live up to expectations, but it was still pretty fun to watch. The Los Angeles Rams and the San Francisco 49ers will pull the stats up there right now, but I mean, just initial reactions to this game.
Take off the overlay.
Oh, yep, that's right. You know, I screwed something up. I screwed.
My God,
sorry, my fault.
You screwed the pooch, man.
I wish there was an easier way to do it.
Yeah, anyways, go on.
Initial reaction is how the 49ers got in this position. Is the fact of the matter is they have a really good defense. Because I looked and I saw this game. Jimmy Garoppolo sucks. I mean, the way he played, I'm sorry.
He's not breaking
really bad.
Yeah, he was
really
bad.
Really bad in this game.
Yeah.
I mean, how they beat the Rams before, this is it's just crazy. Clearly, Matthew Stafford wanted it more. Clearly, you look at, let me rewind a little bit. I'm just blurting out my thoughts. I got to do this constructively. The 49ers defense looked pretty good. Stafford threw an interception, obviously. Looking at the Rams, the only part of the 49ers defense that was questionable was their secondary, because Cooper Kupp, they were letting him open most of the game, and he had 2 touchdowns off of that. So that once again, I'm not really sure what's going on with Jimmy Garoppolo, but it just was like, really?
That's the real Jimmy G. I mean, we saw the actual Jimmy Garoppolo.
Real Jimmy G, I'm
trying to formulate this. It's like, was this 49ers team a fraud and they just made their way into the championship game?
No, they're a good team.
They're a good football team. They all they need is a quarterback, and they will be a contender every year, I think.
But let's talk about this. Let's talk about this just for a moment here. The 49ers have been criticized, and we've thought so many times over the course of this past season that the 49ers, they were struggling up and down season. And
until the end.
Here they are getting to this spot.
It's like the Bengals, similar story.
It's just like the Bengals. They just got hot at the right time.
They run.
They got hot at the right time.
They won that last month of the season. They just got on a run, and that's what it takes.
But I'm very surprised at how poor Jimmy G performed. In my opinion.
I'm not. He's the kind of guy that under bright lights he can't perform. It's just he's always been that way. But I thought
he could have played better. That's all.
But hold on. Right. What has again? I'll present the question again. What has he shown you that makes you think he could have played better?
No, I'm not saying this game, but I'm saying
just in general, what has he shown you in his history that he can play better than this? Nothing.
I guess
even in that Super Bowl run season 2 years ago, in that NFC Championship game where they completely beat the brakes off the Packers, it wasn't Jimmy G throwing, it was the run game. In the Super Bowl, what costed them the game? Jimmy G overthrowing a guy.
Yeah.
You know, this is Jimmy Garoppolo. He is just not the kind of guy. He's not a Matthew Stafford, where like he's gonna come up in the biggest moments. He's not a Patrick Mahomes. Clearly, this is just Jimmy Garoppolo. This is who he is. He's the type of guy who, you know, under the brightest lights, like you said, he's gonna fold. Now, to your point about the 49ers, are the 49ers a fraud? No, they're not a fraud, or asking the question if they're a fraud, not that you're calling them a fraud. To your point, they're not. They have a great team. Deebo Samuel's is an animal, man. Like, I would love Deebo Samuel on my team.
Oh my
God. They have a stacked defensive line. The problem with their defense and why Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham had such big games was because that secondary is not the best anymore. When they made that run to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, they had Richard Sherman. They had a few dogs back there, and they've kind of lost them, in the past couple years. And, I don't think the 49ers were frauds. I think, they won the games. They went to Dallas. They beat Dallas. And, they beat us, They went to Green Bay, and it was a defensive battle, but, they shut Aaron Rodgers down. Now, offensively, they got nothing going, which, again, goes to my point. What has Jimmy G really shown us to really make you think that, he's going to be able to, he's going to play better than, Matthew Stafford or something like that? Not that I'm saying that that's what you were saying, but, I'm just comparing the two, obviously. And they were leading in this game. It's not like they got blown out or anything like that. But when it came down to it, what really solidified this is who Jimmy G is was that penultimate drive before, with 2 minutes left, right? So the second to last drive, where they needed to do something and they had the worst possible result. They lost they got -2 yards on the quick 3 and out. And they just completely screwed up on that drive. And it's bad when your head coach even knows that he can't rely on you and purposely tries to hide you.
Yeah.
So that's all it is.
Yeah. This game to me, I think the Rams. Their defense. We know how good that defense is. We've talked all season about Aaron Donald and. Just how good that 3-4 defense is. Great gains. Leonard Floyd, of course, as well.
Von Miller
and the linebackers, even more impressive group, like you said. With
Von Miller coming back to life, man.
Troy Reader had a heck of a game. Just a really solid defense, and that makes it a lot easier for a guy like Matt Stafford coming into a lot of people thought a pretty good situation. And of course, when they bring in Odell Beckham, that helps him out a lot too. And it turns out Odell was not the problem in Cleveland, which
maybe in terms of team morale, maybe he was the problem. But in terms of production, production wise, Baker Mayfield wasn't getting him the ball.
Right.
Cleveland must be wow, Odell's going to a Super Bowl right now.
Oh, they're very sad, I'm sure. But you know what? I don't give a crap about Cleveland. They can. They're one of our biggest rivals. So.
The armpit of America.
Yes. And the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is pretty.
But I did forget to mention. I did forget to mention just the icing on the cake with how Jimmy Garoppolo underperformed and just was being Jimmy.
I wouldn't say he underperformed.
Just being Jimmy G.
Jimmy G doing Jimmy G things.
Yeah, so in just the icing on the cake, there was that interception where he just.
I was going to bring that up later.
It's
Carson Wentz. It's a Carson Wentz type interception.
What are you doing? It's like this is the NFC championship.
Take the sack. The sack would be so much better than trying. I don't understand. Okay, this is the thing that has really gotten me the past couple of days. I don't understand why this has become such a trend in the NFL. And it all started, of course, because of Patrick Mahomes, because he was making all these incredible plays, right? We keep coming back to Patrick Mahomes, dang it, okay? But it all started with him. Ever since he was starting to make these incredible passes, all these incredible plays, you know, no-look passes and stuff like that, every quarterback for some reason is like, oh, I can do that too. And ever since then, you've seen Carson Wentz do it. You saw Jimmy G do it. They try to make a play out, like they try to make something out of nothing.
They try to do something they're not, which is playmakers.
And he tried. Oh, we saw Josh Allen do it a couple years ago in that Houston game, in that Houston playoff game, where they just try too hard to make this incredible play that ultimately comes back and bites them in the ass.
Yeah.
And this is one of those situations. It bit them in the ass. When in reality, that sack would have been so much better than him basically throwing the game by causing that interception.
If I could go back to the Rams real quick, I question why Cooper Kupp is wide open on so many occasions. I mean, all season long, we know how good the guy is. I mean, he's one of the best receivers in football. Why is he so constantly wide open? Why can't defenses figure out a way to cover him?
He's just too damn good, and Sean McVay schemes him open, I feel like. And also when you got Odell, you got, Jefferson too.
Yeah, they have weapons.
They're stacked, man. The only thing that they're not stacked at is running back, but like they're a stacked team.
Yeah, and I think if you give Cam Akers more time, he could become a better running back. He's still young, so he'll figure it out. But the Rams are a scary team for the future too. I mean, if Stafford sticks around, they could be a force to be reckoned with in the NFC, especially because it's just, I feel like the NFC is very much up in the air. We don't have a lot of young studs in the NFC like you do in the AFC. Like you don't see the NFC loaded with that same amount of future generational talent. You have a lot of older farts playing out there. So
I mean, we got
you got Rodgers.
You got Rodgers, but we don't know if Rodgers is going to stay in the NFC. He might go to the AFC. We don't know yet.
He might go.
But as of right now, we got Rodgers. We did have Brady, but he's gone.
Who else?
The only
guy.
The only young guns. The only young guns is Kyler, Dak, and that's it.
That's pretty much it.
Those are like the only young guns who are like, yeah. And I mean,
looking ahead, and I'll probably mention this later, I think this Rams team is different in the fact that last time the Rams were in the Super Bowl in the most recent memory, they're not going to put up 3 points.
No,
yeah, but that's
most definitely.
But also, well, that was a great coaching job by Bill Belichick because he completely changed up what the Patriots did on defense, and the Rams prepared for one thing, and then the Patriots came out and did something completely different. So that was more of a coaching thing, where Sean McVay was basically caught with his pants down, and just couldn't adjust. Whereas this time, yeah. Whereas this time, it's going to be different. Also, because every time Kirby brings this up, it's such a big deal to him. They were going to be playing at home. I don't know how much of a home field advantage it's going to be.
Yeah, it'll be split up. The audience will be split up.
Yeah,
it's
but also
crazy, man. 2 years in a row.
Cool.
Well, we talked about this. I don't know if we were off air or we were recording. I can't remember, but it's like I said, when you schedule when good teams have the Super Bowl slated in their
off air,
slated in the in their home stadium, they circle that because they know that hey, if we can get to the Super Bowl, we have a chance. I mean, we will play at home, unless there's some disaster.
That's always been a thing. That's always because when Dallas hosted the Super Bowl in 2010, they were trying to make a run that year.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised it took so long for this.
Would it have been
I agree.
Crazier? I mean, I'm just hypothetically speaking, if the Rams were playing the Chargers in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that would
would have been insane.
That would be a huge headline. Yeah. No doubt.
That would have been
Los
insane.
Los Angeles
for sure.
versus Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Yes, the battle for LA. That would have been pretty cool. That would have been awesome, but that's not what we got here. But for the Rams, this is, I mean, they really vindicated the Matthew Stafford trade and trading away their future because they're in the Super Bowl. This is what it's all about. They went all in. They've traded their future away, essentially. They don't have any draft pick, like a first-round draft pick until like 2025, I think it is. Mm-hmm. Like they're in a good spot. Or like this is what it all came down to. Now they have to win, and for Matthew Stafford, this is also like vindication that like, hey, like I've been good this whole time. It's just I was stuck in Detroit, and Detroit didn't necessarily have. They
don't have the media.
They don't have the media.
Detroit's probably crying right now.
No, I'm pretty sure they're celebrating. They're happy for Matthew. Now, of course, they're sad because they're like, yeah. I'm positive that they're happy for Matthew Stafford because he gave them so much, dude. Like he gave them everything. He came in, week out, hurt,
injured all the time.
And like we've seen the effects on. Like he's not healthy going here on the Rams right now. Like he's still hurt. He's fighting through a lot.
Yeah.
But like, for Matthew Stafford, like this is big for him. To find like he was like 0-3 in the playoffs. With the Lions, he's 3-0 so far with the Rams. Yeah, like I said, this is a big deal for him, and I'm happy for Stafford.
No, I totally agree with you. I think a lot of people are rooting for the Rams because of that, but also on the other end, you have the Bengals, who are also a great Cinderella story.
We're not making our picks anytime soon, but just know I'm having a hard time picking right now.
Yeah, me too.
So, yeah, I would like to mention one thing about the Rams defense. How would you all like to spend 3 years in retirement, come back, and you're in a Super
Didn't
Bowl?
we bring this up last week?
Probably, but
we
still,
brought this
Eric,
up like we've brought this up before. It's the best deal the guy could have ever gotten.
Yeah, and also he had a big impact.
You just bring him back for the playoffs.
He played very well in this game.
Yeah,
it's
crazy.
It's hard
and
to believe.
He was 3 years in retirement.
Yep.
I mean, he was keeping in shape by playing pickup basketball, apparently. So, but I mean,
still crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane that he basically just came off the couch and just like came in, and then here in the NFC Championship game, he had a fantastic performance. He played very well in this game.
Yeah, and that just adds to that Rams defense, which, like I said, and like all of us have said, I mean, they are solid defensively. It's one reason why I think Cincinnati hasn't faced a defense quite like the Rams. I know we're going to talk about that to come.
This is a nightmare for Cincinnati's offensive line.
On paper,
but we're going to give a quick preview here in a little bit on what's going to happen.
Yep, but that's all I have to say. The Rams are just clearly, I mean, the team with more talent. They're the team that wanted this game more, especially Matt Stafford. We talked about.
They're Goliath, and the Bengals are going to be David. So this is a definitely David Goliath thing because like that Rams team is stacked. Aside from running back, of course, but like you said, Cam Akers he's coming back from injury
most of the time. So
I mean, you can, but. It's just hard
rare
to do it.
It's rare with the salary cap and such. Yeah, to do that.
Yep. But
all right. The Super Bowl is set. When we return, we will give you a brief preview and tell you what is to come for the future. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Hey, sports fans. Thank you for listening to and supporting the Kirby on Sports podcast with founder and host Josh Kirby, along with lead contributor Dan Dembski. Like, subscribe, and give them a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcast from. My name is Dr. Dave Miles, founder of Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation. Our company helps leaders build engaged and productive teams. Exclusively for listeners of the Kirby on Sports podcast, you can take an opportunity to discover your primary communication style and learn more about effective communication with others. Text Kirby to 757-903-0743 for your free copy of the Working From Home Communication Assessment, where you'll learn your primary communication style, how to better communicate with others not like you, and tips on working remotely based on your personal communication style. 10 minutes, tons of resources. Learn about yourself and your team. Again, text Kirby to 757-903-0743 for your free assessment report today. I'm Dr. Dave Miles, founder of Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, where we help you and your team be be more engaged and productive by understanding each other better. Back to you, Josh.
Hey there, this is Mark Francis of Icon Real Estate. If you have any real estate needs in the Winchester surrounding area, including West Virginia, give me a call. I've got extensive experience, been in the business for almost 20 years, and would love to help you out. Track me down at Icon Real Estate, iconsells.com, or even give me a call, 540-247-1527. Again, Icon Sells, ICONSELLS.com, and I would love to chat with you and help you out. Give me a call.
SoFi Stadium is the site for Super Bowl 56. The Rams and the Bengals. And what an amazing way to sort of christen a new stadium in SoFi Stadium by bringing in Super Bowl 56. Not only that, but the home team, Los Angeles Rams, and the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, I mean, this is probably going to be a pretty big Super Bowl. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
The funny thing is, the Rams aren't technically the home team in this game.
Like the Bucks were too. Like the Bucks were last year too.
No, the Bucks were the home team last year.
No, they were the away team.
No, they were the home team, but they decided to wear their away jerseys.
No.
Yes, because this year the NFC's the away team. They alternate year after year. I know what I'm talking about, Kirby.
Yeah, they used to do it differently.
I swear, I thought the Bucks were the away.
The Bucks were the home team, but they decided to wear their away jerseys because Brady loves white jerseys.
Huh. Okay.
Why do you think the Patriots always wore their white jerseys after they realized, because they became superstitious?
Well,
and they were like, the white jerseys are the way to go.
Besides the point, if they're home or away, it doesn't matter.
That's a big point. They're the away team, technically, so they won't be wearing their home jerseys. Because I'm pretty sure the Bengals are going to decide to wear their home jerseys. So they're going to be wearing the black jerseys, and the Rams are going to be wearing the white jerseys. The bone jerseys is what they're called.
Well, no matter the jersey color or home or away, this is still going to be an exciting game.
That was a great segue, but yes, I expect it to. It's either one of two ways for me, and I kind of prefaced this. I think it's either going to come down to the end, or the Rams are going to run away with it. Just because the offensive line of the Bengals is so bad, and you're going up against one of the best rushing or pass rushes in the National Football League. It's just it's going to be a tough road to sow for Cincinnati as far as protecting Joe Burrow, especially after he got sacked 9 times in a game that they somehow won just a couple weeks ago. So actually, was that a week ago? No, it was technically 2 weeks ago now. But
technically 2 weeks ago, but yeah.
But yeah, I think if you look at this matchup on paper, I think you definitely go with the Rams just because on paper they are the better team. But Cincinnati's played with a lot of heart. They've played with a lot of gusto so far, especially in the playoffs. I'm not going to count them out by any stretch of the imagination. I just think it's going to be tough because the Rams have, they have really. This has been a project for them for some time to build a championship team. We've seen it over the years. Them trading away draft picks, signing big free agents. But also, the Rams have a ton of homegrown talent as well. I mean, it's not talked about enough. They've also built a lot through the draft. So, that
obviously
to me,
Aaron Donald.
Yeah, he's the biggest name. Robert Woods, he's injured, but obviously on IR, but he's another big name that they had. Imagine if they had Robert Woods, too. I mean, that would just be a whole other level of domination that the Bengals would have to worry about. But yeah, I think the Bengals, this is a big moment for them. Obviously, the Super Bowl is big for both teams, but this is kind of like, okay, show us what you've got. So you've gotten into this game. I don't think they've had any fluke wins by any stretch of the imagination, but they're the Cinderella team. They're the underdog.
Yep,
people want to
100%.
see, what do you have? Like, show us why why you're the story of the season, and I think that's what they have to come out and prove. And I think it's going to be tough.
I agree.
I think this might be. I think this might be a game. I'll let. This is just really quick, Carlos, but I think this will be a game where both offensive lines are going to have to step up big, because I think this might come down to a big defensive battle. I mean, I'm not saying the offense won't be there, but I'm just saying defenses could play a big factor as well.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about the offensive line point, because I'm not worried about the Rams' offensive line. The offensive line that we're obviously
I was more
all
touching
about,
on the Bengals there, but you know.
Okay. Let me get to that. Jesus, Kirby, pump the brakes, buddy. But yeah, I mean, the thing here is, Cincinnati. The biggest weakness on Cincinnati, like obviously the whole line is a weakness, but their biggest weakness is the right side, and that is the Rams' defense's strength is attacking that side, and that's Von Miller's area. And of course, they can move Aaron Donald over to the right side and take advantage of those guys over there too. But not only that, I mean, obviously you got one of the best corners in the league in Jalen Ramsey. It's who's going to be able to handle Jamar Chase, I feel like. It's not going to be easy for Cincinnati, under any circumstances. Of course, defensively for Cincinnati, I feel like they're going to have to play the game of their lives to be able to stop these weapons. Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows if they have what it takes to do that. Now, I think they're going to be able to stop the running game? Yeah, for sure. I think they can stop the running game. They have a great rushing defense. They've been able to really shut down. Obviously, they beat Tennessee, who has got one of the best running attacks. Of course, Derrick Henry wasn't necessarily in football shape. It wasn't at the peak of Derrick Henry powers, but still, they stopped him. And Kansas City, I mean, they did good. Stopping Kansas City's potent, offense. So I think for sure this defense can do it, but I think they're going to have to play the game of their lives here to really pull this off against this juggernaut of a team in Los Angeles.
Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase connection is going to have to be a big role, in my opinion, because I feel like the Stafford Cup connection. But
hold on, but we've seen that it doesn't have to. I mean, they beat the Chiefs without that. Without that being, it doesn't have to be the thing, but he does have to make an impact in the game.
Correct. That's what I was trying to say, because Joe Burrow does have those other weapons. So the offensive spark, the Bengals just have to have a big offensive game as well, and the Bengals secondary, they have to look out for Cooper Kupp.
I was just about to say that, and I think too.
But they can't solely focus on Cooper Kupp because, of course, there's Odell.
I thought Cincinnati's secondary did a great job in the second half against Kansas City's dynamic receivers, especially Tyreek Hill and Kelsey. Those are the two guys you have to stop for them. The Rams, the Rams have a similar situation, but I think the Rams have even more weapons. So I think Cincinnati has shown that they can slow down weapons when they have to. Like they know how to game plan. That being said, if they fall behind in this game, I don't think it's going to go the same way, because Sean McVay is not going to let the Rams let up if they get a big lead. He's not going to let them fall asleep in the second half.
But I don't know about that, because we've seen Sean McVay fall asleep at the wheel in the second half. Just because you get the big lead, I mean, we've seen it. We saw it against San Francisco at the end of the season. And it wasn't like the Rams had everything locked up at that point, because they didn't. As a matter of fact, they ended up falling down to the 4 seed because of losing to San Francisco.
True.
So my thing is, and like they were leading big, they were leading 17-3 going into that second half. All they had to do was just, the thing is they don't have a running game, so like it'll be hard for them to milk the clock, especially against the Cincinnati.
Right, you have to hope to complete a bunch of passes.
Yeah, like this is going to be a big Matthew Stafford passing game. And for the Bengals, it's different. The Bengals do have a good running game. Joe Mixon is a solid running back. He's going to get you those tough yards. So for me, it's more of if Cincinnati, if we go into the fourth quarter and Cincinnati's still there, like right there, still like keeping up with Los Angeles, I won't be surprised if Cincinnati wins this. But if we go into like the second half, we're like in the middle of the third quarter and it's just clear Los Angeles is starting to take over, then I mean LA is the clear favorites here, but you know we just can't count Cincinnati out because I mean they've beaten the tough teams to get here.
Totally agree.
So you will not be seeing our picks here. We will be doing a Super Bowl pregame show. We will keep you updated on all social medias for that as well. As up until this point, next week is the Pro Bowl. So that means we will be coming back next week and talking about everything related to the Pro Bowl.
Yes, this is what I wanted. I wanted us to preview the Pro Bowl. Let's go.
Yes, preview the Pro Bowl. I am absolutely kidding because who cares about a glorified flag football matchup? We're taking the week off.
He was waiting for that rant.
Okay, Kirby.
We are putting into the books and we are giving you all the stats, getting you ready for the Super Bowl pregame show, Kirby on Sports Podcast Live.
That was great.
Okay.
That was a great promo,
buddy.
Sorry, I cut you off a couple times during it, but anyway, I think on that note,
that's what we're doing.
I think on that note,
hold on before we say goodbye. Before we say goodbye to our lovely listeners,
yes,
everybody that's listening to us on the podcast, everybody and people who have joined us live. Before we say goodbye, we do have to address the fact that Kirby went defeated this weekend and made 2 wrong picks, while me and Dan went 500 and we went 1-1.
I'll take splitting. I'll take that.
Well,
Carlos,
yes. At least I showed up. Last week, you see that guy sitting right next to me. He did not show up, and
he's not sitting next to you though. He's all the way in another county.
But who has a better record?
Virtually.
Roll the drum roll, because let's see who has the better record now. Carlos?
I don't have a graphic made for this. I'm sorry, boys. I totally forgot to make a graphic. But what did we end at? Remind me again.
What are the records? Let's just take
it was 6-4 to start for Kirby and I. With him going 0-2, I believe I passed him.
Let me pull it.
I believe both of
us.
No, because you were 5 and.
Well. Anyways, that's the schedule of events. We're taking the week off next week, and then coming to you Super Bowl Sunday for a pregame show. That will be live.
So technically, we're taking 2 weeks off then technically because we're not coming back next Tuesday, and then are we doing a show the week of Super Bowl, or are we just next time you're going to see us is Super Bowl the preview show?
Let's talk about this off air.
That's an off-air discussion.
Okay.
We will keep you all updated. We have social media platforms that we will keep you updated because I know you will probably miss us. You will most definitely miss the legend of Carlos Martinez.
You goddamn right they're going to miss me. Okay, so I have the updated stats. Here. Dan is now the top dog in the race here at...
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I think he's 7. I think you're 7-5 now. If my math is correct, because you went 1-1, you were 6-4, so you're 7-5. Me and Kirby are now tied at 6-6.
Oh, it gets
so I have made a comeback, boys. I am still in this race. Now here's the question: what happens?
Does that mean one of y'all has to pick? You have to make different picks for the Super Bowl. That's. Right?
I feel like it's not good because I don't know.
Tough, right? Because
I don't know.
Because if you both pick the same team, then you.
If we both pick the same team and we both, we're gonna finish tied, and then Dan, and then what happens if Dan you pick the other team and they lose, or like what if we all pick the same team, they lose? No, then you would still be up on us.
True.
Right? Yeah, you would still be up, so you would win. But then, say you pick the other team, they lose, you come down, then we all tie.
Yeah.
So what the hell happens then?
Who knows?
We're gonna have to
Fight.
figure all this out. We'll have it all figured out.
I think we'll have
Who
a
knows?
duel to the death. But that's
We
just
will
my-
keep you all. We will keep you all
Or
updated.
Kirby will lose.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, it's always
Pew pew.
pew 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 pew. That is all the time we have for the divisional wrap up here on the Kirby on Sports podcast. Once
Championship.
again, big.
It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. I'm gonna miss you, boys.
Bustin'. Let's go.
So for the weapon, Dan Dembski, the Swiss Army knife, Carlos Martinez, I am Josh Kirby. Thanks
Stay
to
frosty.
our sponsors. You all are the best. Thanks to our sponsors, Trumbull Insurance Agency, 540-532-0622, Regroup Building Services, PM Plus Reserve, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, and Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate. You can check out the Kirby on Sports podcast on all streaming platforms, all social media platforms, and KirbyOnSports.com. Check us out on all social media platforms, and we will keep you informed on the next.
Give my edits some love. I work hard on those.
Yes, the next couple of weeks, and follow Chief_Graphics on Instagram, and
follow
other than
Chief
that-
on Instagram too. He
Yeah.
doesn't have an Instagram, but follow him.
Gentlemen, it's been a blast. The Super Bowl is quickly approaching, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Until the next time you see us or hear us, always remember to create greatness. And we say so long and peace out.